Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Celebration Point. Today I'm not alone. Russ is here. Do you notice he's holding a McDonald's cup?
I need to get paid in food, paid in McFishes.
So he got a McFish, and now that he's happy, we can chat about something that I wanted to chat with you about the other day and we didn't get to it. So let's dig into the farthest corner of Celebration. So last time we were here, I was talking about basically everything that's going on here in this corner of Celebration Point. You can go ahead and watch that video if you want to get a closer look at this kind of secondary hub here in Celebration. But one of the things that I wanted to focus some energy on is the newest development here in Celebration, and it's called Island Village. Now, it's just down the way from where we are now, and it is away from Celebration Town Center, headed in the direction of Champions Gate and Reunion. Now, we're not going to go on I-4 in order to get there. We can actually get there right from here. It's not a very long drive, but I do want to take you down there, show you what that's all about, and give you an idea of what this area is, because it is still currently being developed, and it's the newest part of Celebration to be developed, probably also the last part of Celebration to be developed, because it is the last piece of land that Celebration had available to develop. So, what do you say, Russ? Make our way down to Island Village?
Got started, I'm waiting to go.
Let's go. So just as a bit of a reminder, we're starting off today here in Celebration Point. This is near the Publix off of Celebration Boulevard. It is really gloomy today. It's not sunshiny, but that's all right. Anyway, we're gonna make our way out and down toward the Island Village area. So you'll actually see this direction is where the McDonald's is. It's also where Celebration Town Center is, but if we head to the right and keep following this road, that's when we'll end up at Island Village. Here's also another look at one of the apartment complexes that we talked about the other day. This is Emerson at Celebration. Oh look, it's Santa. And of course, if we keep making our way past Emerson, we end up here on this road. Now, this is an interesting little development, mainly because it is kind of an island. There's only one way in, one way out. By the way, I don't know if you saw that reindeer going by. That's actually reindeer 13 for the year. We do keep track. Anyway, we're making our way over the bridge now. So like I said, only one way in, one way out. And I have some questions about that, but of course we'll talk more about it once we get where we're going. And it'll be a few more minutes, believe it or not, because this is quite a long stretch of road, and it is a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. So it does take some time to get down this road and into that Island Village neighborhood. In fact, there was one day when we did this drive and we timed the drive, and it was like 13 minutes to get from here to Celebration Town Center. So kind of gives you an idea of how out of the way this section is. We do have an elementary school over here, and then there are, of course, houses, and there are a lot of different houses and kind of residences in this area. In fact, I took some time to look a little bit more into this area because I honestly was curious. It is so new. I don't know too much about it. And one of the defining qualities of this area is that there's mixed housing all within close proximity to each other. So we do have big homes, we have townhomes and apartments all right next to each other. It's not separated in this Island Village area. Now, before we go any farther, I do want to talk about some other qualities of this area as defined by the developers. Now, of course, you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. They're trying to convince people this is a great idea, and so it might be a little bit over the top, but nonetheless, this does kind of give you a sense of what this area is about. So the main goal of this area is to really focus a lot of attention on walkability and making sure that people who live in this area have easy access to things on foot, not necessarily in a car. And there's a lot of emphasis on that. They talk about prioritizing walkability, making sure that walkways are big and open, not only for people who want to walk, but also for bikes and rollerblades. Yes, they do mention rollerblades. They also mention that the roads are designed to disperse traffic, and there's like a hierarchy in mind, so There's boulevards, but there's also very narrow roads, basically to discourage people from driving. And I mean, this seems right on brand with Celebration in general, because Celebration is very, very narrow, very tight, and it can be difficult to drive through Celebration. And this area is no exception. Of course, as we drive through, we'll talk a little bit more about that and kind of give you an idea of what to expect from this area if you're considering this area. I don't know, maybe you want to move here, rent an apartment here, whatever the case. They mentioned that this area is designed to be eco-friendly, which I'm not entirely sure what exactly is meant by that, aside from the fact that it's very walkable. They also mention that this area is built for you to be within 10 minutes walking distance of home, work, and other things, which I have some questions about. Of course, they also mention diversity in this area, and that is not only for homes and shops, but also people. So different ages, different incomes, and different races. Again, they do make sure to highlight that. And even from where we're sitting right now, you can definitely see that this is a very diverse area. We do have an apartment complex right next to some townhomes or condos, but we also have storefronts. And you can kind of see this as we look at this main area. So we have some townhomes down there, and here are the condos with the commercial space underneath. There's no one in this commercial space as of yet, and I have no idea who's going to be here, so we'll just have to wait and see. And then right there in the middle of your screen, those are the apartments. Of course, if we turn just a little bit farther, we do have this little lake right here and a seating area. And then back this way, we do have single family homes. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering on price points, so I want to get that out of the way since we just kind of looked at everything right now. There are a few different options when it comes to purchasing property here in this area. There are still some lots that are being built right now. The most affordable house currently being built, so it's under construction, is about $1,400,000. That's a 3,400 square foot house with 3 bedrooms, 3 bath, 1 half bath, and a 3-car garage. A 3 bedroom, 3 bath, 1,600 foot townhome is going to run you about $550,000. 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,200 square foot condo, about $450,000. And then of course, if renting is more your speed, they do have the apartments that we looked at just a second ago, where a 1 bedroom is about $1,700, a 2 bedroom, $2,200, and a 3 bedroom, $3,400. So this begs the question, which I kind of mentioned moments ago, what are you doing for work here that's going to be within 10 minutes of your home? I do not know. Probably not working in one of these storefronts though. Nonetheless, we'll just have to wait and find out. Like I said, I haven't seen any information about what's going to be here. Do you have any information about what's going to be in these little shops?
I haven't the slightest clue. I haven't seen anything. This is actually the most recent update to this area that I've actually seen. This has actually been mostly under construction.
So stay tuned for that. But for now, let's kind of wander through this neighborhood, take a look at some of the homes, and take a look at some of the roads, get a sense of what this area feels like. Now, I will say right off the bat that it definitely has vibes just like Celebration Town Center does. And I think that's the idea. I think that they want this to invoke that Celebration Village feel of that center part of Celebration. And I mean, it definitely looks like other parts of Celebration too. Honestly, this feels kind of like a little miniature version. Of course, a lot of construction still happening right now, so you're seeing a lot of that. But honestly, you can see as we drive through this road, there's only so much space. It is very narrow. They are parked pretty much right up against the curb on both sides, and it's tight, which is something again that we see in other parts of Celebration as well. Wow, some of these houses are massive. Now, as a reminder, because Russ just mentioned this off camera, the most affordable house currently available as a new construction is $1.4 million in this area. There are only 3 currently available. Everything else has been sold. So people are already living here. It's going quick. Here are some of the townhomes that are here. You can definitely see the attention to detail when it comes to sidewalks and stuff. And then here is an example of an alleyway. Now here in this corner of Celebration, but also elsewhere in Celebration, they do have alleyways for parking. And this basically is intended to keep the streets clear and keep the cars out of view. And I'll tell you what, it is very, very tight back here. I don't know how I feel about this, but then again, I'm not a big fan of alleyways to begin with. There's another one right in front of us. But you know, like I said, those alleyways keep this clear. The intention is to have this big open area, and you do that by having cars kind of tucked out of the way. Now here, we're kind of in a corner of the neighborhood that has a little park, which we'll see here in a second. But again, see big open streets out front. You're not really meant to be parking out here on the street. Then right there is the park. It's a nice little green space. And then here we are again at this little lake. We just did a teeny weeny little loop. I'll tell you what though, I've got a lot of questions about what's going on down here. Let me see if I can give you a little peek. So the road is currently closed and there is a lot going on down there.
A lot of infrastructure.
Yeah, I don't know what is happening, but it certainly looks like something is happening. Which is interesting because, do you remember how we mentioned earlier that the whole idea is to try and make this a walkable area with limited car traffic? I wonder how that's going to play into this, because that could potentially be another way out of this neighborhood and ultimately another way into this neighborhood, which is something that I think this area desperately needs, but we'll talk more about that here in a second. Russ is actually pulling it up on a map so that we can get a better look, and we'll show you guys.
Goes that way.
Huh.
To nothing. It goes towards the actual Reedy Creek. So I don't know if their plan is to connect the backside of Artisan Park or go all the way through and hang a right over to the Osceola Polk Line Drive, or even connect all the way to Route 17. I don't know how the heck they're going to do that, but the direction that they started that, I mean, there's a lot of space back there, so maybe they're just doing more. Like, I know you said, like, this is going to be, like, the last bit, but, like, that, it may very well be part of it.
Well, here's the thing. According to the information about this area that I was able to find, this is the last like swath of land that can be developed as part of Celebration. Now, can it expand out? I mean, maybe. I don't know how that necessarily works. You know, can they expand a town out into an unincorporated area or into an available piece of land? I don't know. But it would be very interesting because it would allow for another point of access into this neighborhood, which, just real quick, is like my biggest gripe with this area. Now, we can have conversations about money and how expensive this area is. It's obviously not expensive enough to keep people out because it's packed. But the biggest problem that I have, for a number of reasons, is that there's only one way in, one way out, and it's not a big open road. It's one little road with a bridge. That's it.
Well, I think the thing is, too, is if they're expanding out this area even further, that means there's going to be a lot more traffic heading down to that further area, especially if that also doesn't connect to anything. Because again, there's nothing out that way. So if that's also a second, like they're just extending the dead end, because that was originally a dead end, and that was all woods. So if they just continue on down that road and they expand off and splinter off even further into that, that's fine.
But that's a lot of people coming down that road.
There's a lot of people coming down the main strip and through the neighborhood, essentially. For a $1.4 million home to have that one street off, I mean, I wouldn't do that.
I have a lot of really strong feelings about this, especially in a place that experiences hurricanes, especially in a place that has such a small bridge that limits the height of what you can bring in.
Here's my biggest problem, is people do not do 35 miles an hour down that road.
No, they fly.
And there's already been a decent enough accident where they're now having to fix the bridge, or I think a section of it prior to the actual bridge starting. So if anything actually happens on the bridge or to the bridge and they shut it down,
You could be stranded.
I don't understand how you're supposed to get out of here.
That's my biggest question for this area, and that is the thing that for me deters me from being here or living here more than anything. But we'll just have to wait and see. There's also an issue of traffic getting in and out just on a good day, mainly because of just the shape of this area. So there's the McDonald's, which is where we were, and then just beyond the McDonald's there is a school, and then there's the long bridge and road leading to the bridge to get here, and then a school right after that as well. So there are going to be certain times of day where I really feel like it's going to be kind of hectic.
Yeah, I've already seen it firsthand. Celebration gets backed up because of stop signs, 4-way stops or 3-way stops. And for this, for a perfect example is you have one traffic signal in and out of this area to get onto I-4 or World Drive to go up to Disney and stuff like that. So to add more traffic on top of what's already happening and then couple that with school coming in and letting out and stuff like that, they have to have plans to add another way in and out of here. I would think. You would think. I would think.
And not to mention, like we saw, the storefronts are still vacant. So they're not getting any business right now. There's still a lot of homes that haven't been finished or don't have people currently living in here. So just the residents themselves are definitely going to make this place more crowded once all the dust settles. It really makes me wonder what it's going to look like when all is said and done. Anyway, let's make our way out. So now we're making our way out, and you can kind of see we're passing by this, I guess you could call this like a community center over here.
Yeah. Community center pool. It's a community center pool and a little walking path area.
Yeah. And then a little lake right there. And again, there's like seating areas down there similar to Celebration Town Center. Again, you can see there's parking on either side of the street, very similar to other parts of Celebration that we've seen. So narrow though. I can't get over how narrow it is, especially around some of the corners. I know you might not be able to tell on video, but it is so narrow.
We have a subcompact car.
Yeah. And here we are back at the elementary school again. And so we're also back on that road that leads us out. This is that one single road that will get you out of town that we were discussing before. Or I say out of town, but out of this neighborhood, I suppose you could say.
I've never been up. I want to go this way.
You know, it's funny. I was just going to ask you, what is this direction?
No, it's a straight up dead end right now.
All right.
For
so
now.
this is currently a dead end.
And there's I-4.
Yep, there's I-4. So we are right along I-4. You can definitely hear I-4 traffic from over here. So for those of you who might be wondering because you saw the sign, this is that coastal court section. So just after the elementary school, there is that left-hand turn, and this is where it leads nowhere. Okay, so we're back on that road, the one road out of this area. And as you can see, not much to see. We did take a look on the way in, so it's just kind of a road. There is a nice big sidewalk over here though, which again is to be expected. They said that that was part of their plan for this area. So now we're going to take this left. We're not going straight down. And it actually leads us to Celebration Point, which is where we started. So this is a different access point, to that neighborhood. I guess you could call it kind of a back road.
Okay, so I think the whole point of this is so you don't have to deal with the traffic of the high school and or Emerson at Celebration Apartments. This allows you to gain access to Celebration Point without going that way, which is nice. However, this is not a different way to get out of Celebration. This just literally brings you to Celebration Point.
More specifically, it's not a different way to get out of Island Village. I know that we might misspeak a little bit, but that is called Island Village, that little corner. Of course, there is a drive-through for the Publix pharmacy, which is great. And as we come around, boom, we're back at the Publix. So yeah, that was a quick look at Island Village, which is the farthest point in Celebration, at least this direction. Now, right off the bat, it's not going to be for everyone just based on price point alone. It is very expensive to live down that way. Of course, it's expensive to live in Celebration in general. If you're looking for an affordable neighborhood, Celebration is definitely not the place for you. That said, Celebration, which we kind of talked about in the past, and we'll talk about stuff like this again, especially coming into the new year. Celebration has its quirks. It's not going to be for everyone just in general. Firstly, because of just the environment, but also because it's a vacation destination or a neighborhood in a vacation destination. And some would argue that it is a vacation destination in and of itself. But I'll tell you what, that island village area is definitely something entirely different as well. Now, of course, we'll have to see what it looks like as time goes on when we figure out what's going to be in those retail locations or in those commercial locations, when we figure out if there's going to be another way in and out. It's so new that it's hard to tell. That's another thing that I always try and keep in mind when looking at neighborhoods like this. Like, you just never know, especially so early in the development. But as it stands, at least right now, I do think that it's important to consider that this area is gonna require a little bit of adjustment to daily life just because it's only one way in and one way out. And of course, there is no grocery store over there, so you need to make your way out here to Celebration Point in order to do your groceries. And even things like the post office. You're going to have to go clear across town if you want to go to the post office. Things like that. Of course, everyone has different wants and needs. Just something that you need to consider if you're considering living back there. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm just looking at the map again of the satellite imagery, and there is the open space that they're clearly, it's not an open space, but they clearly cleared it out, and is definitely turning it into something. I don't know if they're going to have a huge complex, another apartment complex back there. Maybe their affordable housing option, but I don't see how you're connecting it. I still can't see it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what they do. I'm interested in knowing if the people who are purchasing the homes are being told what's happening there. You know, I would think it'd be part of that whole package, right? You get that whole booklet of stuff that you get when you buy a brand new construction or something in a whole new area. I would think it'd be like that, or at least an idea of what's going on.
I don't know though, because we've lived in some places and known some people who have purchased homes in like newly developed areas, and sometimes they have absolutely no clue as to what's going on until years down the line.
Yeah,
so,
I guess unless you're keeping an eye on the local government stuff.
I honestly don't know, but even when you do keep an eye, sometimes
who knows?
Something just happens. So either way, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
But let me know your thoughts on this area. Let us know if this is a place that you would consider, whether or not the price is something that works for you. Price aside, would you consider this area? If you live here in this area, fill us in with all the deets. Put them in the comments down below. We would love to know if you know something, because we're curious. So
pretty much.
Tell us about it. But anyway, as per usual, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this. I do want to take a look at some other areas around the Walt Disney World area. We're just starting here in Celebration because, as I said in our last chat about Celebration, we're here all the time. We live nearby. So this is like our neighborhood, if you will.
Sure.
But there are so many other options if you're thinking about moving to the Walt Disney World area, and we're going to cover all of them. We're going to talk about the pros and cons and everything in the new year. So if you're interested in that, not only should you be hitting that thumbs up button to let us know, but also hit subscribe so that you don't miss any of those conversations. They will be coming in 2024, which is like days away.
Yeah.
So, but with that said, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We look forward to seeing what you have to say, and we'll see you in the next one.
Everyone.
Bye.